So as we know, the incidence of cancer is increasing in this country, and by 2030, 1 in 3 people will have cancer. So despite all the advances that we've made, the incidence of cancer is on the rise and shows no signs of slowing down. And it's really due to lifestyle changes, insulin resistance, vitamin D deficiency, obesity, and processed foods that is driving this exponential increase in the risk of cancer. And so, as Dr. Siegfried said, basically, this all comes down to Otto Warburg, who in 1927, came up with, he noticed this effect in all cells, all cancer cells. So this is important to note that this is a phenomena characteristic of all cancer cells. They have defective mitochondrial metabolism. They use fuel anaerobically. So they have a mitochondrial problem. And this is a characteristic feature of all cancer cells, and they are highly dependent on glucose. And this becomes such a fundamental concept. And he won the Nobel Prize in 1931 for this finding. And then obviously, we have the pioneer here who built upon Dr. Warburg's findings and has really convincingly demonstrated to the world that cancer is a metabolic disease. And because it's a metabolic disease, you therefore have to treat it as such and not as a defect in chromosomes. So it's not a genetic disease. And I can just maybe give 2 quotations. This is by Travis Christofferson, who wrote an excellent book called Tripping Over the Truth, which gives a very nice review on the history of cancer. And he says, no researcher can point to any single mutation or combination of mutations and say with confidence that it alone is the cause of cancer. Nor can researchers point to a series of cellular systems rendered dysfunctional by mutations and make the same claims with confidence. So he makes a very strong point, as Dr. Siegfried does, that the chromosomal or genetic changes are really secondary phenomena and not, in almost all instances, the primary cause of cancer. And then we have this quotation, and probably this carries the most weight, by James Watson. If people don't know who James Watson is, he's Watson of Watson and Crick, who discovered the structure of DNA. So I think he knows more about DNA and chromosomes than anyone else on this planet. And what he is quoted as saying in a New York Times editorial, we may have to turn our main research focus away from decoding the genetic instructions behind cancer and towards understanding the metabolism within cancer cells. So if James Watson thinks that this is a metabolic disease, I'll take it from him. This is a metabolic disease. And so in terms of prevention, which I think most people would be interested in, this is a peer-reviewed paper, a randomized controlled trial published in a peer-reviewed prestigious journal, which basically shows that 3 simple interventions can reduce your risk of cancer. And they looked at vitamin D in a low dose. Omega-3 was 1 gram a day, a simple home exercise program. And basically what they showed is the combination of vitamin D, omega-3, and a simple home exercise program that could reduce your hazard ratio by 0.6. So it reduced your risk of cancer by 60%. So basically, this is a treatable, preventable disease. And metabolic syndrome, vitamin D deficiency, and processed foods underlie most cases of cancer. So we've put together as part of our protocol or our guide what folks can do to limit their risk of getting cancer. Again, vitamin D, omega-3, fatty acid, green tea catechols, melatonin. And then if you're at exceedingly high risk, have a strong genetic history or family history or previous cancer, we would add metformin. So we put together a list of 20 interventions. This is the top 10. And as Dr. Siegfried has said, number 1 is a low carbohydrate, high fat ketogenic diet. So you essentially want to starve the cancer cell of glucose. Human cells, healthy cells can use ketones. Cancer cells can't use ketones. In fact, it's toxic to them. So you really want, as he said, the ratio of high ketones to low glucose. Then green tea catechins. So green tea actually targets, apart from being potent in terms of many of the cancer-killing pathways, apoptosis, affecting the microenvironment, also affects glutamine dehydrogenase. So it does act on the glutamine pathway. Melatonin, vitamin D is highly effective. And the data showing that vitamin D both prevents and treats cancer is overwhelming. A report in New England Journal of Medicine in 2002 strongly provided evidence of the role of vitamin D3. And this explains why the risk of cancer is much higher as you go more north or south. So as your exposure to ultraviolet D decreases and your vitamin D goes down, your risk of cancer goes up. There's a very strong relationship between vitamin D levels and your risk of cancer. Metformin, curcumin, mebendazole, omega-3s, berberine, and then surprisingly, exercise and stress reduction are very important in both the prevention and treatment of cancer. So the items listed in green are over the counter. Those who require prescription are in red. So we recommend that patients don't follow a single intervention, but multiple interventions which act synergistically and additively together.